Samira, how are you feeling? This is debut week for you. Here, you can. I'm Puerto Rican. I will project.
I'm Indian. We can project too. I can use the mic if you guys want me to.
Testing.
So this is actually amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Having this like this deep pain in my chest, and I realize it's like feelings. It's just so amazing to have all of you guys here and to be here with Adam and to be at Books of Wonder because like 10 years ago in that corner way over there, Books of Wonder had this cupcake cafe that was there, if anyone's old enough to remember that. And that, my husband and I eloped, and that's where we got our cake to celebrate.
And just a quick note, it's very special for me to be moderating Samira's event because we met at BEA in 2016,
yeah,
right?
Oh my God, like love at first sight.
Yeah. So yeah, Samira was in line for Pictures Where You Left Me, and which was cool, and then
I was the last person in line of us 700 people.
And you were telling me how you were just having conversations with editors about your debut novel.
Right.
Did you tell me about Soho specifically?
I didn't, because I was trying to keep my secret.
Okay, cool. And I was just like, best of luck to you, like I hope that this all works out, and then like, here we are.
I know, and
a year and a half later.
This moment is happening.
Yeah, and like it's your debut year. So I'm gonna brag a little bit for you. Can you hear me in the back? Is everyone?
Yeah.
Great, okay. Puerto Rico. Alright. So on top of being featured in so many most anticipated lists for 2018, your debut novel, you've also received some really incredible reviews. Just so impressive. And just quick pull quotes so you can all really understand Samira's awesomeness. School Library Journal, in their starred review, said that Maya's voice is pitch perfect, funny, warm, and perfectly teenage. Booklist, in their starred review, said it was utterly readable, important, and timely. And Publishers Weekly said it was entertaining and thoughtful. The novel is eminently readable, intelligent, and, once again, timely.
You guys, I'm so on time.
You are. How would you describe your book?
I mean, I would describe it as timely.
Yeah. I guess like more specifically.
It's a very pertinent novel to the day. I've got a sparkling voice. I've got
Perfectly teenage.
I've got a giant ego also now. So Love, Hate, and Other Filters is a coming-of-age story about this young 17-year-old girl. Maya is an Indian American Muslim, a child of immigrants, and really she's just like a girl like all the other girls. Like, she's got dreams and ambitions. She's got crushes on a couple of very swoon-worthy guys. And, you know, she's just trying to figure things out. She wants to be a filmmaker. She wants to go to NYU for film school. She loves documentaries. But this intersectionality of her being an Indian American and a Muslim, it adds this another layer of complexity to her life, not one that she necessarily asked for. And then when the novel also follows an act of domestic terrorism that occurs. And we see that when that story meets Maya's, there's, you know, kind of a literal and metaphorical explosion in the book. And we see how, you know, this act, which kind of unleashes a wave of Islamophobia in her town, despite the fact that this incident is like miles away and completely disconnected from her, like completely changes her life, the way people look at her, and, you know, possibly her future.
So we've spoken a little bit about this privately, but any writers in the room? Okay, yeah, there's a lot. I'm sure that a lot of you are being like super shy. Can you speak a little bit about what it was like for the submission process? Because it is a novel that, you know, probably stood to face a lot of rejection a lot of years ago because it wasn't centering a white teenage girl's like perspective, you know? So what was it like actually putting the book out there into the world?
Well, it also faced a lot of rejection now, in this time. So, you know, I wrote this book and this, like, centers this, you know, Indian American Muslim girl. It's a book with this theme of Islamophobia. My agent, Eric Smith, he and I found each other on Twitter, of course, as one does these days. And, you know, he really loved the story, and I really needed, you know, a champion for the story who could, you know, then put it out to editors and publishers. But I really was like, well, you know, I mean, there might be people who might not want to publish a book about Islamophobia, and you know, a lot of times there's this idea that there can only be one story, and there is like the Indian American girl story, or there is the Muslim girl story, or there is a story about, you know, racism or bigotry. Like, there can only be one. And so yeah, we definitely were confronted with that because we're getting well, we already have a book sort of similar on our list, and then later when I would find out, I was like, that book's not similar at all. Like, it is only similar because the character is a person of color, as if there's only one person of color that exists in all of America. And then we came upon Dan Aaron. Dan saw this story for what it was, a story of this American girl, and it's an American story. And, he picked it up and was like, yeah, I think this is going to be a book.
No, so has been so much. Maya is here today.
She totally exists because of them.
Yep. So because the submission process was not maybe the most sort of like heartening, obviously you found the perfect team and the perfect editor. What is something that you hope to see in YA? Like, what are the kind of like books that you want to see on the shelves in the coming years?
YA is like in a lot of ways in a golden age right now. We have like so many amazing books that are coming out and amazing storytellers. But I also would just love to not have this experience of like there can only be like one kid of color book. Like there's a lot of people of color in America and we each have our own story. No story is exactly the same. Like it is okay if there is another South Asian Muslim book that hits the shelves, and I hope there are. I mean, I really just believe so much that, our stories should represent what America is. And America isn't just one story. We Need Diverse Books is doing like an amazing job, and like so many other people who are like, pushing into publishing and saying like, look, open your eyes and open your doors and see that the world is more than what has just been represented, up till like, basically the last couple of years where we had, roughly only about 10% or so books that were written or illustrated or about like, kids of color, and that's just not represent. That's like of all, and even like now where we have more, still like in 2016 only, I think it was like only 6% of children's books were written by Black, Latinx, and Native American writers combined, and that is like appalling, you guys.
Yeah, I also think it does really come down to publishers as well as like putting these books on, under a wider spotlight and on stage. Like, Maya today,
everyone
just
needs a 6-foot-tall Maya.
Exactly. To validate their book's existence.
Well, that's what is amazing about So. They they took the story, they ran with it, and they're like, yeah, this is a story that, it doesn't just need to be read by Indian kids. Everyone can read the story. It's like having a story with a character of color. Like, if you have a story about a gay Puerto Rican kid, it doesn't have to be only for gay Puerto Rican kids. Hopefully they will read it.
Yeah.
And they do read it.
Sure. But yeah, it's...
I read Lord of the Rings. I'm not a hobbit.
Okay, wait.
I know. I'm actually an elf.
Yeah. So actually, your debut author, I'm kind of an oldie at this now, a little bit of a veteran. I'm kind of exhausted about this question, but I think that it has to be asked. It's sort of important when we look back on like how this industry has been evolving. What was the first time you ever saw yourself like in a book? Like, have you ever seen yourself in a book? Like when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, no. Because there were no books like that. I remember reading Island of the Blue Dolphins. Do you guys, anyone remember that?
Yeah.
That character's not in what?
Newbery winner.
Yeah, that's true. That character is not Indian. She's not Muslim, but she is. I remember in my mind she was this like kind of like this amorphous character of color, sort of like this indigenous girl, and that book I read like many times, and I kind of realized now in retrospect, I kind of was looking at it like she was this girl fending for herself and trying to survive. And I think that's what resonated with me. Like, I was growing up in this small, pretty much all-white town, which is where my book is set, Batavia, Illinois. And a lot of times I felt like an island, and I was fending for myself and I was trying to learn to survive. But I think really I didn't sense my story on the page until Jhumpa Lahiri's Interpreter of Maladies. And that was when I was an adult. I read it and I was like, I'm not the only Indian out there. And she could capture sort of, even though she wasn't writing about Muslim characters, she was still writing a lot of the Indian experience that I could relate to. And she was writing it with nuance. It wasn't just like all like Bollywood weddings and like curry, whatever that is. And So it really spoke to me, and I mean that Jippa Lahiri kind of did that for me, and she actually gets she gets a shout out. She has a cameo in my book.
What's a genre that you would like to dive into one day that you can see yourself writing? And what's one genre that you are going to just like steer the hell away from?
I really think there should be a Muslim Christmas novel. I think that's like really been missing from that whole, because there's like the Christmas books that come out every year, and I'm like, this really needs a Muslim perspective.
Yeah.
I think I could corner that market, you guys.
Okay. And what's something you're like, I do not have the chops, or you don't think you have the chops to?
I mean, 100% not horror. I cannot do horror. I mean, I can't even really read it. I can't even really watch it. I'm not desensitized to violence at all. I mean, I'm still watching stuff like, I can watch stuff like this. I mean, I can't even watch like stuff that's on TV now, because I'm like, this should be like rated R. I don't know if I should be watching this. It's
so
like very
you
violent.
can't like watch HBO.
I just stick to like Nickelodeon.
Maya's Hogwarts house and why?
Well, I mean, she's like so Gryffindor. I mean, and I'm so Gryffindor, I guess. I mean, I told someone the other day, I was like, I could never write a Slytherin book. It's just not me. Maybe that's a Danielle back there. And the Bells is so Slytherin. Maya has like some Hermione traits, I think. She's studious, and she's like the good girl, and she wants to do right, and she wants to have a British accent. She's loyal, and she like sticks with her friends, but she also shows courage when she's called upon to do so.
Yeah. 10 points to Gryffindor, I love it. Okay. If Maya could hang out with characters from other books, whatever genre, who would be her BFF from a different book, and who would be her romantic interest?
The first character that came to me in terms of like who she might be attracted to is a book that's not out yet. It's coming out February 6th, and it's from The Bells.
Oh.
And Danielle, I could not remember Remy, the guard. Yeah. I was like, this guy better not be a bad guy. And I just found him like, I just found him so appealing, and he's like a guy who like sort of sticks to the rules, but he wants to do the right thing. And I think that is something that would really appeal to Maya, and obviously he's hot, so I think that in combination would be it. And so there's another book that's coming out February 6th by Gloria Chow called American Panda. And May in that book and Maya would totally be best friends. They would totally bond over like their moms complaining about how much they eat or how much they don't eat, and about people pinching their cheeks, and about like aunties asking them like, do you want to meet this boy? And like, this is what you should do. They would totally bond over like the mom thing. So those two books are coming out February 6th, and
that's a perfect answer. Okay. Tell us about a recent read that you love so much that you would buy for everyone if you could, and a book that you're looking forward to.
So this is not a YA book, but I'm going to say Exit West by Mohsin Hamid.
Yeah.
His writing is so fantastic, it's so good, and Exit West is so brilliant. It's really a refugee story, and it has kind of a fantastical twist. And his writing surprises you, and it catches you off guard, and all of a sudden there's these moments that are incredibly poignant, and you're feeling this incredible melancholy for these characters, and you're like, where did these feelings come from? And then you're like, oh my God, Mohsin, he's like a wizard.
So hi, we're here with Samira Ahmed in our book, Love, Hate, and Other Filters. You guys should go read